Hi everyone. I want to share a text from the Bhagavad Gita. This is the definitive English edition of the Bhagavad Gita, Vedic scripture, based on story. Of ways of looking at life from a oneness, wholeness perspective, in depth within ourselves, and how we make choices and how to have different, an overall perspective. So this scripture relates to the Supreme Godhead, which is resonant of oneness, in my own words. So I want to share this because this little book sits on my desk, and whenever I'm drawn to it, I'll pick it up. And I haven't for a while, but this morning I was. And I opened to where I had it bookmarked. This gorgeous bookmark that my daughter made me many years ago when I first got this book, about 8 years ago, I think. And so it was bookmarked on chapter 15, text 5. And to me, it's very relevant for what I've been talking about recently. And it's a good way just to drop into a perspective that kind of holds you in a space of awareness, and just allow it to, just allow yourself to drop into that space of awareness with it and take from it whatever you naturally feel. And I really like the clarity of the Bhagavad Gita, how it approaches things that are so relevant to do with the current times we're in, and shifting out of thinking mainly for a physical dimension into the wholeness and the purity aspects, but the embracing of the purity aspects as a part of living in this world. So it's not like we've become, Godhead itself, or the deities and gods, but that flow is available for us to flow it through our soul, through our awareness and consciousness. So that's why I read this, and that's why I loved what I opened to this morning. The translation of this text: one who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust, and is freed from the duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. So to me, isn't that just nice to just drop into that, not to sort of hold any judgment or anything, but just calling us into a place that says we can be free from illusion and not be pulled to, well, that's what this book represents, pulled to achieve happiness or allow ourselves to stay in distress. But we can surrender unto the supremeness, like the Supreme Person, the wholeness, oneness aspect I relate it to, the truth of our higher selves, attains to that eternal kingdom. So the purport goes on a short while here. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature. It is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion, for although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering that the land, this earth, belongs to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by this familial, social, and national affections. These fake associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Exactly. And so as that was coming to a close then, that section of text, I wondered to myself when it says, he becomes full in knowledge, then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So my hope for that, when one reads it and comes to the end, that the contemplation that's jogged, like influenced, like what comes from it, is that why would we want to become full in knowledge and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And that's my hope, is we continue to remind ourselves of that truth in the center of that what are we actually owners of, and what we're truly not owners of in this temporary journey, we just surrender it, release it. Because in surrender, there's that humble, grounded nature that there's so much more abundance than trying to control what we have for ourselves only. You know, the segregation and the separation that's going on the planet. So that's a beautiful way, I think. This text really reminds me of the scripture reminds me of the beauty that's in our field. And when we read things like this that remind us of it, we hit that frequency that is of a high note. And we're doing it in such a humble manner as to be open to the learning, not structured in must learn, must read, close the book and go about your day, but allowing the space to stay in those frequencies, those notes of consciousness, in the beauty of the flow in it, and realize that this is like, this is oneness energy that they're speaking of. This is clear out the false notions of impurity, to be a part of the path of pure and impure, but not give in to the lower notions, the impure notions that this is mine and that's yours, or this isn't yours, and then the divide gets wider and wider. Just remind ourselves of the beauty that's there. And just one last important note because of that, the appreciation that our physical vessels are the fact, like the appreciation of the physical vessel is the fact we can feel those high note pitches in, like, even the tiniest resonance of it. When you're reading it, you're just like, oh yeah, that's a high note pitch, and the allowance of that, that's felt. So we should appreciate like the vessel and everything, and just remind ourselves of that whenever we're feeling a good feeling throughout the day, to stay in it as long as we want, or go from that into the same focusing for other activities. Yeah, it's just a way to keep your vibration higher and higher, and then like once that's maintained, there is lesser and lesser of lower attention in your energy field pulling you towards other things, so you can just stay in that beauty sort of flow. And why can't that be a reality? Good things come from that, and it's not impossible. We've just grown up in a world where it hasn't been appreciated so much that it's an actual way of being. Not that you're going to read scripture all day, but it's wonderful to have these around. And I think, sometimes you just have to make yourself sit down for 5 minutes and open up to any page, because I haven't read every page, and I've had this for 8 years. But I love whatever I do open up to, because it reminds me of something for the moment. Like a lot of books or card readings as well, when you truly want to make that connection with more than the physical world, of a higher vibration. Okay. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. See you again soon. Bye for now.